And welcome back to another episode of the Filmistines. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today I am joined by my buggin' friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
I'm glad everybody could join us because today we will be talking about David Cronenberg's 1986 film, The Fly, with the one and only Jeff Goldblum. There is obviously a lot to like about this film, from the set design and the mannerisms of Jeff Goldblum and this relationship that doesn't seem to really evolve into much. I like this emphasis of where obsession can take you, an almost reasonable obsession, being on that path. You're finding all this success, home run after home run. It feels like obsession is the right answer. I think everybody experiences that at some point in their life, and maybe it tapers out, or maybe you just kind of hit a wall and reflect, and maybe you don't love where you ended up on some level. The effects are very cool, obviously, especially the slow transformation of it. We didn't jump into Brundle just waking up as a fly, right? We have Gina Davis's character, Veronica, in love with something more than just Brundle. I think it is this fascination that we're drawn to within individuals with their passion, and this kind of deconstruction of the fascination we have with others' obsession being an interesting point of forced reflection, at least by the end of the film, because of what happens to Brundle and what Veronica is sort of forced to do. I think this would have worked better if we had the opposite, the man involved. What was his name, Greg or something? If he was actually a loving person, because he's kind of a creep, right? The love triangle, I think, doesn't work at all in this film. There's a hint of this being a kind of tragic romance that I feel like it really wants to be, because it spends so much with the interactions of Veronica and Brundle, but it never quite reaches it because it seems to be pulled in just the direction of kind of being just in a constant gasp of what Brundle's turning into. But that's kind of self-evident, right? What's more interesting is Veronica still kind of being in love with this guy, right? We don't really go anywhere with that, and that's kind of disappointing to me, especially considering the end. But I'm not gonna lie, I guess obviously I'm a little surprised that I'm pretty soft on this film, actually. I did not love it. But I know you're not very familiar with David Cronenberg. I think you've only seen one of his other films, and it was the recent Crimes of the Future, the remake. I sort of like it when directors remake their own film in some kind of lens, like Michael Haneke and Funny Games. It's strange. Obviously, the original is much better, Funny Games. But how did you feel about The Fly?
This is a movie, for sure. It had some charm. I'll give you that. Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis gave the film so much personality, but I'm not sure how the movie made me feel. I didn't feel connected to the characters. I didn't feel why I give a shit this scientist is about to get turned into a fly. Besides that, a human being is getting turned into a fly.
It's shocking.
Which is shocking.
I mean, I think you're feeling exactly what they showed with Gina Davis's character, Veronica, and we're just in gasp mode and shocked mode the whole time. She's like, well, okay, we get that.
Yeah, but what? What else? What about it?
Yeah, why do I care?
Yes. And I'm not sure how I feel about the plot itself. We have a boy, meets girl, they fall in love, I guess. I don't know, it was very quick. And then he gets drunk and experiments on himself. And then we have this chaotic mess towards the end. It didn't feel very cohesive from one point to another. And I'm not very familiar with storyboards and that kind of production stuff. But it felt like it was, all right, let's get this part done. Next part done. Where's the part where he's insecure and drunk? Oh, this part, okay, done. She leaves. All right, Gina Davis, leave. Done. It just didn't flow as much as I wanted it to flow. But I'll give you that the plot is definitely memorable, so I'm a bit conflicted there. But there wasn't any death. That's the main thing. There wasn't any afterthought for me to this film. No message. And to be honest with you, I didn't even get the obsession message that you were talking about a bit earlier. I got a sort of desperation message from Stathis being this crazy ex that's still obsessed with the relationship. You know, we all got one of those. They won't leave you alone. But nothing comes of it. Sort of. And we can talk about it here in a bit.
Yeah, it seems like Stathis is just one of these conveniences that help put a bow on the film to help save Gina Davis.
But what message is that sending?
Is one toxic relationship can help bring you out of another toxic relationship.
Hey, keep that desperate guy around your life because one day he's going to save you. Don't burn bridges.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This movie's begging for this love triangle type thing.
But she doesn't love him back.
Well, I have a hard time reading Gina Davis's feelings anyways. She's very cold. I don't know what that is about her, but she's got a...
Like the actress herself. Or her performance here in The Fly.
No, the actress herself. She's got a very specific cadence. Not completely unlike Jeff Goldblum, too, where Jeff feels kind of checked out and in his own world. Gina has this kind of detached, apathetic delivery in the way she says stuff in all of her movies. That baseball movie, Beetlejuice. But the funny thing is, I think that cadence could totally work in this film if we had a little bit more of a focus on the relationship and less of this, more or less, I guess, objective perspective of just what is happening between these three. If we would have taken the point of view of Gina and her more of her feelings for these two men, I wouldn't have needed anything romantic out of her because her profession was enough to sell me that, oh, she's very interested in science in general.
Right.
Brundle's working on cutting edge sci-fi oriented stuff. Of course, she's going to be very interested in it, no matter how she says what she says. But I completely agree. The pacing of their relationship is just like, almost like, did you guys know each other before or something? Like, it's just quick. And the movie is obviously very short, so maybe another 20 minutes would have helped develop at least Veronica and Brundle's relationship. But her ex, I don't know what's going on there. It's just weird. He's a creep in every scene he's in with her.
Even when he saves her, he's a creep.
Yeah, when he's waiting in the car for her, I think she went up to go get some stuff and she was coming back, and it's just weird. He's got weird vibes, but it's obviously a love triangle oriented thing. We have these three players that are all expressing kind of on some level romantic interest, right?
Yeah, on some level,
but
I
just
guess.
it neglects it.
I don't know.
So many of these things are one way.
I don't know, because Gina Davis's character does not give a shit about Stathis.
Why is he there then?
Exactly.
That's her boss, I guess, but
you can't just have a character to come save the day at the end of the movie.
It feels kind of like a cheap horror movie in that way, where we just have this super convenient thing pop in. It's like, okay.
Yeah. The pacing felt both rushed and like it dragged on at times, which is...
It's because it didn't amount to anything until the very end.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, wow, if we would have had a great relationship between Brundle and Veronica, this would have actually been a really big moment.
Yes. It probably would have made me cry.
Which would have been pretty cool in a movie like this.
Because watching someone you know you love turn into a monster like that, whether it's literal or metaphorical, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we have the great metaphor of his obsession consuming him. Literally, he morphs into something completely, unrecognizable.
I do appreciate the scientific side of this. There's something comical and almost true about this smart guy trying to remain smart and ethical about an experiment, but then here comes a girl making him jealous, insecure, and act reckless. And then, like a true mad scientist, he prioritizes all of his feelings over caution and being critical.
How romantic.
Yes.
It begs for the romance. It begs for the love triangle. It humanizes an academic mind, right? That's not something we see all the time.
Right. That's something we don't get to see often. And you mentioned the body horror and the transformation. That was pretty cool to watch. I did enjoy it being in stages, so to say. At first, we, the audience, notice the hairs. We see Ronnie's hand brush up against his back, but she didn't feel it at that time, but we saw it. And it's like, you know, that kind of reveal moment, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen in this movie, but you get some hints with the title. You know, there's a fly involved. When he went in the teleportation device, we saw the fly, we focused on it, so we know something's going to happen with a fly. And then seeing those little hair grow on him and them not noticing it, it does give this suspense that I quite enjoyed. I loved gradually seeing him decay in front of us and transform into this disgusting thing. Probably my favorite part of the movie, the transformation. And you can never go wrong with losing teeth in a film if you want to just psych out your audience. You know me, I'm partial to the 80s films. There's this 80s charm that I like in an 80s film. This grunginess, this toughness, and in a lot of films, this sinister tone that they tend to have. And this film shines in that way. It's got all of these little things I enjoy. But as far as the story goes, it doesn't give me anything on a deep level or a take-home message level or even something cheap, which only dog movies can do that for me. I really enjoy this romance or tragic romance side of the story you're talking about, because it completely makes sense, and they should have ran with that, because one of my first thoughts was what made him come out and finally tell someone what he's doing. Looking at his home, his place, his job, his life, he doesn't have friends. He obviously didn't have a previous partner. This man is lonely. This man is alone. And it's like we decided to start this film when this man said, I need to get out there and, I don't know, find someone, talk to someone, get out of here, out of my own head. So we're jumping into the film in such a critical moment in this man's life that I'm not sure it comes across. But it did get me thinking on this character himself. Do we immediately trust him? This dude obviously has some quirks that I'm not sure why we gave him the quirks we gave him. They don't seem to add up to much, and maybe they do and I'm just not seeing it. But him being car sick when she's driving and he's really sensitive about it.
Well, I think that's just more of what you're saying, that he doesn't get out much. He's not used to this.
Okay, yeah. And him living in a really dumpy place, in a really shady area.
That's because he doesn't get a lot of money. He talked about how he gets such little funding that he's able to go under the radar, and so, you know, he's kind of in the ghetto.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense, because I was thinking more of the lines of, are we trying to make him an unreliable character? Or are we trying to make him a clever scientist that has a lot to offer to this world? Not that there's one or the other. We can have a version of both. But maybe I just had a hard time with this character's temperament.
No, sure, and I think it comes back to the such obvious kind of reach for this more human story, but we don't manage to develop any relationship or really any character.
Yeah, because you have something great here at the start with just starting the film with him at this time, this point, like I meant. But at what point does it stop that? At the end, when he is at his final form? Because to me, it kind of started feeling weird when he went off to that bar to try to pick up that girl.
No, I totally feel you. The emotional kind of outrage we get out of Brundle, again, is not set up in any way. Brundle and Veronica connect. Veronica becomes very fascinated, becomes attracted, I guess. Veronica inspires Brundle to think about his teleportation device in a different way. We get this big montage of him finding success in teleporting something without killing it.
Living, yeah.
And then Brundle gets jealous, and then we have some great sequences of him having some bit of outlash. But it does feel very forced. And I hate to say it, but I think it's by design. I don't think David Cronenberg quite understood what he had here. The movie's obviously called The Fly. It's only remembered because of the transformation. The star of the film really is only the transformation. You know, we don't have any great performative bits.
Yeah, there's not a standout scene. There's not something dramatic that happens. Or dramatic in the sense that it's dramatic to you, the audience, to make you feel something. You know, that scene that made you cry or whatever. And I also blame the dialogue a little bit. Not sure if it's the screenplay or just that dialogue of the times, because that dialogue is of the times, the 80s. But there were like 6 times when the character interactions were like, yeah, exactly. It's like,
I forgot about that. That was that's bad writing. That's not of the time. That's bad writing.
That was all over the screenplay,
especially in the first half, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, you see that in 80s films where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat you up, or like that, yeah.
Sure.
But not quite to this degree, of course.
I get that. This film reminds me, maybe, obviously, of The Substance, where we almost have these inverses of one another, where The Substance is all about its messaging and kind of lands on how distorted one can feel, where The Fly has no idea what to say about the effects of obsession, but still show you the evolution of some try at a metaphor of obsession.
And I really do enjoy that you phrase it that way because, like I said, I had a very hard time getting a so what, a why to this film. Why does he need to decay like that? And I did read a review online mentioning that this was a metaphor for aging and death and our bodies eventually decaying. And I didn't see that whatsoever in the film.
I mean, that would just beg even more for Gina Davis to be deeply in love that this individual, Brundle, is her best friend. She's losing him kind of thing, and she's going to be alone. Like, it just begs for that kind of relationship. And otherwise, just make him alone, you know? Because, I mean, there's people who are alone. They stay alone. They die alone. There's something deeply sad about that lack of connection.
Yeah.
But we have a love triangle here, a very clear love triangle. It's a little weird. I wouldn't say anyone's in love, but it's there.
No, to be a love triangle, someone has to love the other two individuals. They got to make that connection.
Well,
to me, it just seemed like Brundle and Ronnie are in love, and here's this ex over here still wanting to be in her life, but she's not a woman of today and will immediately cut him off or tell him to stop bugging me. You know, she's going to be nice about it.
She's stringing him along.
Or she's stringing him along, which I guess it works out for her.
Yeah, I don't think it's confident enough to lean one way or the other. I just feel like it begs for the love triangle, but it's just not there. It's a proper love triangle needs to have kind of two-way streets at all vertices, okay?
Twilight, great love triangle.
And we get hints of it, and that's why I'm just like, oh, there's almost something really beautiful here, but Stathis is trash. His character's trash. The performance is whatever. Gina is checked out and not in love enough. She's not obsessed enough. I don't know.
But she keeps coming back. So there's something there, you know? Yeah, I can see that. Why would you care for a guy that's devolving? Or morphing, I guess. He's not devolving. You wouldn't if you didn't love him.
Yeah, maybe to David Cronenberg, coming back is love.
And maybe Because I was trying to think of these films where we have a human being in love with a monster, and specifically physically a monster, you know? And really, I could only come up with King Kong and Beauty and the Beast. A little bit of different scenarios, of course, but at the end of the day, these beasts, these monsters, learn something from that experience. King Kong learns to love humanity through this woman.
Well, I believe we have that here.
I don't think Brundle learns anything. Unless now Gina's the monster that needed to do the learning.
We have Brundle in his fly form, put the barrel of the shotgun to his head, indicating some kind of resignation of the will to live, obviously, but more importantly, the recognition of him going too far, of things escalating way out of everybody's control, and him becoming, I guess, literally a danger to himself and others.
Yeah, but see, I wanted him to shoot himself. That would have been dramatic as fuck.
I think that would have really fit the melodrama of this almost love triangle obsession story gone wrong. Yeah, totally.
And you keep using love triangle, and I'm not here for it. But I do like your tragic romance, which, of course, should remind you of Romeo and Juliet. And how dramatic are those two, that they kill themselves at the end for each other. Maybe we could have done something with that in that sense.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like if there was a better screenplay here, we would have recognized, oh, the obsession is the core of the film. Gina, Veronica, as at some point going to have to come to terms with, oh, this is not a good relationship I have with Brundle. And obviously Brundle's relationship with his craft is not healthy either. The only reason I say love triangle is because it's just...
There's another man there.
There's another man. It's just kind of present. There's emotion and love being thrown around a little bit.
Yeah, there's 3 characters in this film.
So it begs for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done with Stathis.
I did see on Wiki that there was an alternate ending with Ronnie waking up next to Stathis, who she's married to and is pregnant with his kid. But to quote Wiki, it was disliked by audiences, according to Cronenberg. Would that have fit your version of it? Because I would have hated that.
I mean, I don't know. The everything is a dream thing, I think, is a really attractive idea in a lot of scenarios. But I think 9 times out of 10, it's really stupid. I can only think of one example where it's really great, but I won't say it here because it's the spoiler of the movie, and it's just too cool of a movie to do that to. So, I mean, that's super risky business, and the presence of that being a thought, I think, confirms that David had no idea what he wanted to say in this film. Well, man, thank you for watching this Cronenberg film with me and talking about it here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for showing me this weird movie.
Well, as a lover of the 80s films, the 80s era film, this is sort of a canonical piece to that.
Ah, okay.
Well, man, do you have a budget guess?
I'm going with 20 mil. It gave horror movie vibes. Is it a horror movie? I don't know. I didn't check the genre.
Yeah, sure. It's got some of the conveniences. It's very minimum cast, right? Minimum sets. Sure, it's horror.
But maybe a little bit more than that, because Cronenberg sounded like he has made some shit, and this wasn't his first shit, so I gave him a little bit more money.
That's fair. He's an incredibly prolific director. He is arguably the most important person to horror today, especially post, 80s. Well, it says here on the Wikipedia that it was 9 to 15 million. I hate that. That's a big range.
That is a big range.
And it went on to make $60 million. And I'm sure it's made so much on the aftermarket VHSs and DVDs.
Nice. Good job, David.
And over on Letterboxd with 540,000 people, they weighed in at a 4.0.
Whoa. Whoa, no way. How did... I'm done. I'm done with these people.
It's one of those movies where, David Cronenberg, he's a wizard, right? He's one of the masters of body horror and effects. He's got hit after hit. Because of his influence, he must be one of the greats, right?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know about that. But how did this movie have a higher score on Letterboxd than King Kong 2005? I'm just saying. My initial thought was to give this film a 2.5, but that felt a bit too high. So I gave it a 2, but that felt a bit too low. So I think I'm somewhere in the middle of a 2.5. Because there were some great parts in here that I really liked. One of my favorites was when he got in the telepod naked and he's just sitting there all vulnerable and shit. And that was an absolutely awesome scene. The baboons, those were great. Like I said, those transformations, it had that horror, those body horror elements I'm in love with. The practical effects. I like Jeff Goldblum. Gina Davis is good. Although I haven't seen her in much. Honestly, the only place she sticks out to me is in that Grey's Anatomy episodes she's in. She's in it for a little bit. And I liked her a lot then.
Did she play herself? Was she like, oh my gosh, Gina Davis? Or was she like a character?
No, she was a character and she gets diagnosed with brain tumors. And she's blind. Like, it's a whole deal. But everything else is not great. And a really important part for me in a movie is what I get out of it. Whether that's a message or just pure feeling on how it made me feel afterwards. And that didn't have it for me.
Yeah, there's a lot I like about this film. So I'm kind of here with you. The bones of this movie are excellent.
Yeah.
But there's no flesh and little brain.
Oh.
It is somewhere between a 2 and a 2.5, but a 2 feels too low. It's got some juice.
It's got some juice.
So a 2.5 for me, though. But yeah, man, thank you again for talking about this movie, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Filmsteins. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember, we post every Monday and Friday with brand new episodes of The Filmsteins. Go check out our Patreon, our YouTube, all the podcasts, platforms. Our next episode will be on the recent 2024 Wicked. Looking forward to that.
I'm so looking forward to that.
I don't know why it's in 2 parts, but we'll see. Please look forward to that, though. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come subscribe to whatever you'd like. Write in. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is The Filmsteins signing off.